Just feel like it shouldn't be in the country as rich as America, and we're looking to feed people overseas. We don't understand that we have thousands of hungry families all across this country, and because of the 17% rise in the cost of food, we've got people on unemployment, people losing their homes, the public housing being destroyed by HUD, Hope 6 funding, and people living in, now they live in extended stay hotels. That's where many of the poor are living.
In extended stay hotels?
Yes, that is the new public housing. Because 40% of the houseless have a job, and because people who were living in public housing were given Section 8 vouchers and told to go find Section 8 housing, then they got out there and they found out that the wait for a Section 8 place is 1.5 years to 2 years. So where did they go? They moved into an extended stay hotel where they're now paying $125, $200 a week to live in one room with a hot plate with all their children. And so we're providing food for them because they don't have a big refrigerator. They have to have a certain kind of food. That's where thousands of people are living in this country. That is the new public housing. So we're keeping an eye on all these developments because we believe that this group of people will erupt if you don't have organizations like Jose Feed the Hungry to fill the gap between their need and the access to food, access to housing, access to things like toiletry items, clothing, furniture, because they make too much to get public assistance. So they're in this gap of people that if one of them loses a job or somebody gets sick or God forbid a divorce or domestic violence situation, and then one of them is left alone with the children, they can't make ends meet, but they still make too much for TANF or defense.
Now, one of the things in the last campaign that Dr. King was on was the Poor People's Campaign, which your father helped to lead, and you're leading now. One of the things we don't talk about is what you just said about food and preserving people is very political. Now, what you just said about extended stay hotels, the average person doesn't understand that. So they think, well, people are signed to Section 8 and it's just that simple, and it's not just that simple. And the federal government, state government that gives people Section 8, we are really losing because they've got to pay these hotels. I don't care how cheap a room is, $125 a day is a lot of money. And you have very little service for it.
That's right. You only get a room and a hot plate. And really, you're not supposed to be living, a mother and a father and 3 or 4 children in one room, one bathroom. And then they can only stay in a hotel so long. So what do? They're going from hotel to hotel to hotel, which means they're what? They're living in one school system and putting their children in another school system. They're roaming from school system to school system. So the children have no stability, and yet they're expected to achieve just like other children. And then with the state budget cuts, the legislature is supposed to cut over $1 billion here in the state of Georgia. What are they going to go after? Education. They're going to go after the supply teachers, the counselors. They're going to go after those people that might be able to look deep into the family and find out what's going on so that we know why the child isn't achieving. So Jose Feed the Hungry, our point of advocacy to the White House, and I was at a conference with the White House just a few days ago, a fatherhood conference, talking about men coming out of jail. My point is, if you can't come home to a family that's hungry, or a family that's facing eviction, or a family that has no heat or no light because the utilities are off, that is not a stable family, and it shouldn't be happening in our country. And yet all these families are being ignored. They don't get any relief. They're not getting any bailout. They're not getting any help.
Now, as we see all this bailout money, I was going to ask you that, stimulus money, how much of that is hitting the ground where people are really hurting?
Very little of it. Billions of dollars were released, for example, by HUD for rent assistance. They called it HPRP. Well, by the time it dwindles down through the admin costs from the state to the cities, I think Atlanta maybe ended up with, maybe $4 or $5 million to give out for the whole city for rent assistance. Now, we received some of that funding. We received $181,000. We're supposed to use that to keep people who are getting evicted or who are late on their rent from becoming homeless.
$181,000.
That's it. And we're supposed to serve over 50 families with that kind of money. But, you know, the average rent in Atlanta for a one-bedroom apartment is $800. And by the time somebody comes to us late on their mortgage, it's too late.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Sheree, Shopton, keeping it real at Walmart, Toy Drive. We'll be right back.